Welcome back, everybody. Today's video is just going to be on how I did the stripping of this locomotive. More depth on how I stripped it. Kind of show you how I did what I do to get them stripped down, um, and then also go into how I added details to it, and also adding LED lights to this locomotive. I know a lot of people probably have questions about that, and it's pretty simple. And I'll show you how I did that on this locomotive. All right, got another locomotive in the stripper here. 91% alcohol. It's an Athearn locomotive. We're going to repaint. Paint's coming off pretty good. It's been in there about 4 or 5 days. I haven't had time to mess with it too much, so I just have been letting it soak. So now I'll scrub the paint off with a toothbrush, and then remove the handrails, and then get started on the repainting process of this one. I just take a toothbrush and just rinse it off, scrub it off while it's still in this solution of 91% alcohol. Just remember, this stuff's flammable, so you don't want to be smoking or anything while you're doing this. And just scrub it off. Takes a little bit of work, but it comes off pretty easy, especially if you let it sit for a few days. This works really well with the Athearn paint jobs on their locomotives. Now, some of the other companies will use a different paint, so it doesn't work that good. I know with River Rossi, it doesn't work very good, but with Athearn models, since I do a lot of Athearn repaints, it works really well. So I like to repaint the Athearns. Just easy to work on. If anything breaks, you can get parts easy for them and stuff like that. Easy to maintain locomotives, and they look great. And you can add detailed parts to them and make them look really good if you want. A lot of times I'm just trying to get them close to the locomotive that I'm trying to paint. They ain't perfect, because I just run them and stuff, and I just get them painted up and make them look close to the real locomotive that I'm actually modeling. Now you can take it to the next step and add details and all kinds of stuff if you want. As you can see, I got most of it off. I believe this was originally a Santa Fe, I think it was. Oh, Southern Pacific. This was originally a Southern Pacific shell. It wasn't too bad a shape, but it was showing its age, so I didn't mind stripping it. I tried to buy the locomotives that are in bad shape, dirty, paint job's not great. I'll strip them. I don't like to take a really nice locomotive and strip it, unless it's what all I can get, and the price was good. I'm not going to buy a $300 locomotive and stick it in here and strip it. These are usually just cheaper locomotives I pick up at train shows or somewhere. Well, I got a box of shells over there. It's got so many different shells in it. Sometimes I use those. So you can see, got about 90% of it off. Pretty quick here. The toothbrushes get in there and get it pretty good. Some of these areas I'll probably have to use a little toothpick or something to get in some of the finer details real quick. Good. Got a stiff brush on it. Not real soft. It does a fine job. Gets in there good. So I'll have to work on this spot here. Almost like got glue on or something. I think this had some glue on the railings there, So I'll have to work with that and get that off real quick. But just take your time. Scrub it down real good. Then when I get it all scrubbed, I'll take it in the house and put it under the sink and wash it with some warm soapy water and let it dry. And then we'll start primer and painting from there. Alright everybody, I got it all stripped off. There was a lot of glue around where the handrails go in, so I had to take my razor knife here and kind of work it off there. It come off pretty easy. That 91% alcohol had loosened it from the shell, so it came off pretty easy. I got it cleaned up pretty good. So they had glue all over it, and on that side there I had to scrape it off, but it come off real easy. I just scraped it and picked it right off there with my razor knife. And then I think on this locomotive we're gonna add handrails going up the front and on the top. The original plastic molded in ones, I shaved them off with my razor and then drilled them out and made these. And then I added a bell to the front, took the old one off, had to fill in where the original horns went, added a different horn, added an antenna. So I'll show you how I do the handrails here. You can see they're molded in there. So what I do is just take my razor and just work it nice and slow. Kind of just get them right off there. That's pretty good. And you can still see where the original was. And then I'll take my little drill bit on my little hand drill here. Now these little drill bits, I got a thing of them. You can get them off eBay. And there's a bunch of different sizes in there. They don't cost but $5, $6, $7. They come in real handy. And I've had this set for a couple years, I think. They do break easy, so you got to be careful that these drill bits don't break on you. You just have to be gentle with them. And then just find that location where the original was. And then drill it. Drill all the way through. These drill bits go through pretty quick. They're pretty sharp. It goes right through, and then the other spot is drill all the way through. You don't have to press down very hard. Drills right through there pretty easy. And I like to drill them all the way through. That way the wire will go through, make the wire long enough to go through the back side, and I can glue it from the back side so I don't get no glue on the shell out here. Now let me clean the rest of these off. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the one on top I already took off because it had the original, I think it was the original bell up here or something. I took it off and sanded it. And then what I do after you get it off there and drill the holes for it, and all of them, and you can either scrape it until you get it smooth, or what I do after I peel them all, get them all off and all drilled out, I'll take one of these little for your fingernails, filing your fingernails. It's like a little, I don't know, popsicle stick with sandpaper on it. You can buy them at the store for filing your fingernails down, and they're pretty fine. And then I'll take that, and you can cut them different shapes and angles. Like I got that one, and then I got this one cut at a different angle, and you can get into some of them tighter spots and just sand it smooth. So these come in handy. I use them a lot. And I sanded that down smooth with it. So, like I said, it added the antenna, and then I added a different horn because I didn't really care for the horns that were originally on there. So I filled them spots in with some body filler, and filled it from the inside and pushed it through so I wouldn't get excess body filler on the shell. and then let it dry, and I cut it off with a razor and then just lightly sand it with my little thing right here. And then I added a bell I found in my box over there, and it looks kind of cool, I think. So we'll paint that, and then all these. So let me shave the rest of these off here real quick, and I'll show you how I made the hand grabs for those. Alright, I got those old hand grabs all taken off there and drilled out. So now what I use to make those, and most all my railings I use this here, K&S brass rod 8159. It's real small, so that works out good. So what I do is take my little needle nose pliers and just let it overhang a bit, because you want that side to be kind of long that goes into the body. Bit it at a 90. And now the first one you'll have to kind of freehand bend and get your design like I did. And then I took my bigger pair of needle nose pliers and I put a piece of tape on there where I can line it up and get it right there where that tape is, and just bend it right around back to another 90. So then you got a U shape. And then we'll trim it off. And you see how long that is. So just use my little cutters. And then take my pliers. Since it's so small, my fingers are so big. And then work it in those holes if I can. Kind of hard with this camera right in front of me. The good thing about this brass rod, you can bend it if it's just a hair off and shove it right in there. So if it's not perfect, you can get it right in there pretty good. There. Let's see. Kind of hard to see, I guess. But I let it overhang. That way it sticks out on the inside, and I can put the, I use super glue, and I can just glue it right there. After I get them all in place, and then I make sure they're all the same height. So let me finish these up. And that little, these are just small little needle nose pliers. I think I got these at Harbor Freight for a couple bucks. They work good for this type of work. And then my bigger ones, you can see I put the blue tape on there, kind of mark it, so I know, because the width right there is the width I need for those. So let me do the rest of them here real quick, and then I'll show you. Alright, I got those all on. I think they look pretty good. And then I glued them in, glued them from the back side. I don't know if you can see down in there, but I made them long enough so they come through the shell, and I can glue them from the back side. That way I don't have no glue on the shell. And then I broke my antenna off in the process of doing that, so I had to re-glue that. So I think that's about all the details I'm going to do to this shell. It's an Athearn horn, replacement horn. It's not the correct horn that was originally on this shell, but it's just the horn I had. Since I'm not modeling this after any road name or any other locomotive, I'm just going to paint this and do a different paint scheme. I really don't care. I'm just putting some stuff on it to make it look cool, I think. So I just used one of the horns I had. The antennas I used, it's just a bunch of these here. I picked these up a couple years ago. I got a bunch of them, so I use them occasionally. So I don't know if they're the right one or not, but it looks good. That's all that matters to me. And then I think by adding the hand grabs, it just gives it a little better look than those molded in plastic ones that you can hardly see. So I don't usually get all into making those, but I did the SD40-2 high hood like that and it turned out really good. So this is going to be a special locomotive and I want it to look pretty good. So also I'm going to add the hoses, the MU hoses I think they're called. And I got a bunch of this stuff here, which is about the correct size for them hoses. And it's just like, it's not wire, it's just like little thin pieces of rubber. I don't even know where I got it. I picked it up a long time ago and I was like, that'll be good for that, or spark plug wires for my model cars or something. So I just throwed it in one of my drawers. So I'll cut them to length. I think I'll do like 2 on one side, 3 on the other, and then I drilled out these holes for in here, like the originals, and kind of oblonged them a little bit. That way my hoses can go from where they connect, and they'll, the ones that are not in use will go into them holes, and that way they're out of the way. So I think that's about it for that. I'm gonna let this dry for a few, and then give it a coat of primer, I think. So I think I got it cleaned up pretty good, get that glue off there mostly. So once I put a good coat of primer on, I'll start painting it. Any little pieces here and there, you really ain't gonna see. So I had to dig the glue out of all these little places where the shanks or the uprights go. Somebody had glued it up really good. But like I said, 91 alcohol loosened that glue up really good, so it came off real easy. So I still want, I got to make sun visors. I make those myself. I don't buy them. Totally up to you if you want to buy them or not. I got so much of this old thin styrene. All I'll do is piece up here and kind of mark the length, and then cut it out. Cut 2 of them out and make sure they're both the same, and then glue them on right there with a little bit of super glue or something. But that's it. Alright, I made the sun visors. I've always made my own sun visors. Pretty simple to do. You just cut them both out the same size, and then what I do is put them in my pliers here together, and then file them so they're exactly the same, and then glue them in with a little super glue. So I think that's about it for details of this locomotive right now, until after I paint it, and then I'll add the MU hoses on the front and rear. And yeah, I think that'll be it for details. I may replace the original handrails with brass rod, which I probably will, because it's a little bit smaller than the originals and I think it looks better. But I'll use the original uprights. So it's going to be a custom locomotive. Custom name, custom paint colors. So there you go. Alright, we got all the details and stuff, and I got that shell painted. That's it right there. And I did add some of them hoses to it. Got them right there on the front. And I did the rear too. I don't know. They look alright, I guess. And I made that out of that little rubber pieces I had. Now we're going to put I'm going to install LED headlight. And then we'll put LED light for the rear too. Should come on when I put it in reverse or something. So, and then when I go forward, the front headlight should come on. But we just using just LEDs I got off eBay. Got these a few years ago. Bought a bunch of them they ain't very expensive. I've had these probably 3 years, 4, 5 years, I don't know. And I still got a lot left. So I bought a big pack of them and it wasn't very much. And you can get like assorted colors. These are 3mm size I use most of the time. So some assorted colors, blue, reds, yellows, greens, whatever. And then white. And I think these are like a super bright. And these ones, the tips are flat. And the tips on these ones are rounded. With the round tip on them. It really doesn't matter. It depends on what you want to use. And if you want to get a real bright one, you get the bright ones, or these ones, you know, just the regular ones. And then they make, I got a whole bunch more over here, just loose ones. Big ones, little ones. They make a 5mm too, which I use these for other things. So, but I'll just show you, demonstrate this one. You can see these 2 leads come out of this LED bulb. One's longer than the other. And you have to have these little resistors here. And the ones I use, got these off eBay, they're only a couple dollars and you get a whole bunch of them. So 470 ohm. And you take this and your bulb, and the shorter lead off that bulb is what you want to attach this resistor thing to. So you can solder it on. You may have to cut some of the wire off or something, but it solders onto that. So, and then I'll do that. Actually, I won't use that bulb. It's quite big. I don't need that. I just need another bulb. I'll get a different one out of my thing that's not as bright. I don't want a real super bright LED in there. We'll just use this small one I got here. And you can see the one's longer than the other. So the short one, we're going to solder it to this thing here. So let me do that real quick. Alright, here it is. Got it all soldered. I cut a little bit off. Soldered it on there. And I had to flux it. Put some of the flux paste on there. Got this at Radio Shack a long time ago. About time for a new one. It's getting dried up. And then I like to use this one. It's the, what is it, 6040? 6040 Rosen core solder. It's not too big. It's small stuff for wires. And then my little soldering gun. Nothing fancy. It's all from Radio Shack. So they're pretty much closed up now. At least around here they are. You can find at the hardware stores or wherever. So now I'll solder a couple wires, one off of the diode or the resistor or whatever, yeah, resistor, and then one off here, and then we'll have to find which way the current flows to light this. So let me do that real quick. Alright, I'll show you all how I solder this real quick. And take a little bit of that flux, put on my toothpick here, and just put a little bit on there. Then I got my little wire right here all ready to go. So what I'll do, there's not much room here. Take my solder, put a little bit of my soldering gun, put a little bit on there, goes on real fast. Then I got that wire up there, soldered on. Boom. Nothing to it. Hopefully I got that in the video there. And then I got, since I only got 2 arms, I bought a 3rd arm. Bought one of these little things here. Comes in handy. I think you can get them at Harbor Freight for pretty cheap or somewhere. I don't even know where I got this one. But it's my 3rd arm. So it helps me, especially on this stuff when I need to hold stuff to solder. Because I need one hand to hold the wire on there and one hand to hold the soldering gun. And my 3rd hand here hold the bulb. So this little thing comes in handy. So, and you try to solder down on the table or something, it rolls around, it's hard. So these are a nice little investment if you do a lot of this kind of stuff. Comes in handy to hold it for you. And it's just got a little clip there. So you just unclip it. And also as I get older, I can use the magnifying glass if I need to. So now we got to take this over and put it on a test track and try to find out which, put it in forward, so go forward and see which way we need to solder this. But I got to take the stuff off here before I solder the light bulb on there. Alright, here's the test track. Just a piece of 3/4 inch plywood with about 2 feet or so of the Atlas track with a re-railer, and then on the ends I got bumpers that have the lights built in, the old bumpers that have the lights built into them. That way when I turn the track power on, I know I got power going to track. And then we got the wires to the transformer, that section of track there, and then also ran some wires to 2 screws that I screwed into the plywood that I run these jumper cables off of to test out the engines and the LED lights and all that. And then I also have one of these old wheel cleaners that has power going to it. So if I need to just do a real quick cleaning, I can with that. And then we got the old Tyco whistle. So hooked to it just for fun. So now we're going to see, make sure the LED works before we go trying to install it. So always make sure you clip where that resistor is, clamp before it, or because if you don't, you'll blow it. You'll blow the light bulb. Turn it on. I'm gonna see my track power is on. I can see the light down there. I think the other one's burned down. I'm gonna fix it. So try it this way. There we go. Good light. Works good. So now we just got to find the direction that needs to be on the locomotive. So put it on there. Okay, make sure it works. There's reverse. We'll go forward. So pretty simple to do. So go up there. Nope. Flip it around the other way. Wire it. So that's forward. Lights coming on. So I know how to hook it. So turn it off here. So basically, we're going to have to, the resistor will hook to here, and then the other wire will hook to this side somewhere. But we're going to take this all out and probably run a wire from the truck to the top of the motor and then back to this other truck, and then wire the lamp or the headlamp into that somewhere. Alright, I got this thing all soldered and wired up here. So I went ahead and took the old headlight out and all that and left the mount. And then I took that piece that goes across the top of the motor and onto both the trucks for contacts, took it off and just ran wires. So I didn't have any problems there. And then we took the front LED, where that resistor is, we soldered that down to where that headlight mount was. And then the loose wire we just soldered into that front truck where the other wire was soldered to. Then I made one for the rear. So I just made it like I made the one for the front. I just wired it in backwards. That way it would come on when it was current changes and goes the other direction. So I took the the resistor and soldered it to the top of the truck, and then the loose wire I ran all the way across and soldered it over here to the headlight mount. So now we'll take it over to the test track and see how it does. All right, here we go. We reverse, forward. You can see how the headlight's switching from forward to reverse. How I ran it. So pretty simple to do. That's how I do. Most of the time I don't put the lights in the rear. I just put them in the front, have a headlight most of the time. So that works pretty good. Not real bright, but bright enough you should see it. And you can see here, can kind of, the way I soldered that in there, and use those, they got a little bit of strength to them. I can kind of bend them right where they need to be. You know, I can bend it, move it around a little bit and get it right real close to the location to the body it needs to be. Or you could glue these in to the body, mounted them in the body and ran your wires, and you have a big bunch of wires, and then when you put the shell on, you have to fight the wires, and then when you take it apart sometime to clean it later on down the road or something, you have all those wires to mess with. This makes it simple for me. So I can move these around a little bit, adjust them, point them up, point them down, get them about right where they need to be. So, but I will take some black tape and maybe cover up these couple of these areas just in case they get squeezed together for some reason and touch, so don't short it out. But I'll just cover these bare areas here with a little tape. So you could use some like masking tape too if you need to, but I use the black tape. I think it works the best. So we'll wrap those up, then I'll put it back in the, I've already got this chassis cleaned and oiled and all that. So the only thing left to do is change it to Katie's. So I'll put it back in the shell, get those lights adjusted about right where they need to be. All right, we got that locomotive on the test track here. We're going to check out the headlights in it. So I got all the LEDs installed and everything and adjusted to where they need to be, I think. So this thing's will come forward and that headlight should come on. There it is. And then when we put it in reverse, it should be off. And it is. And then back to forward, it comes on. And then we'll check the back of it. So it should come on when you got it in reverse. There it is. And then be off and forward. There we are. That's working pretty good, I think. So, but with all the details added to this locomotive, it turned out nice, I think. You got the grabs on the front for the stairway, the stairs or climb up, you know, whatever you want to call it. And then new handrails. I put those hoses on the front. Changed out the horn to a different horn, and radio antenna. And see the back ones there. The hand grabs going up. They turned out pretty nice. Gives a little extra detail. Makes it look a little better, I think. And then the sun visors. So maybe We should take it over and run on a lay. I don't know. What's that, Dorf?
You don't know the power of the dark side.
Bring it on over here and let's run it. That's what I think we should do. All right, we'll run it. Here it comes through the tunnel. Nice headlight on it. Pulling some rock cars. And then here comes our Cincinnati Eastern locomotives with a short train. There it is. All right, here comes the Cincinnati Eastern and the PTS in Ohio. Headlight working on that really good. There's Cincinnati Eastern train. Well, this is a little video on how I added the details to this locomotive, the Athearn locomotive, PTS in Ohio. How I added handrails to the front and the rear, and changed out the horn to something I thought was better, and an antenna, and then I like some of these with the little bell on the front, so I added a little bell, and then the hoses and the sun visors, and I put sun visors on a lot of my locomotives. And also putting LED lights in them. I wanted you all to see how I do that. It's the same way of all my diesels and my steam locomotives. I wire them in that same way. So pretty simple. And these LEDs are 3mm. You get colored, all different colors. Flashing. You know, they make flashers, or red flashers, yellow flashers, super brights. Just all different ones, and they're not very expensive. So it's the 3mm. That's what I use in about all my locomotives and a lot of my building, my bridges and buildings and stuff like that, and have them. And then resistors 470 ohm. The pack, I don't know, 50 or so in there. So it ain't very expensive. And it's easy to do. So hopefully this video will help you all out on when you want to install LED into one of your locomotives. Now, some of the newer locomotives, a lot of the newer stuff has LEDs already in it. But, you know, I do a lot of the older Atherton, River Rossi, Tycos, Bachmann, whatever. Even some of them old Varneys and stuff. I always like to put the LEDs in them. That way it lasts, they last forever. So, but this locomotive here I built is a PTS in Ohio, which is Portsmouth in Ohio. This is going to be operating on the old Northwestern line that ran from Portsmouth to Cincinnati on the Portsmouth branch, which is going to be from Plum Rum Quarry east of Peebles there down to Portsmouth. So this is all fictional. Now Cincinnati Eastern runs it from the quarry to Cincinnati, and they got a lot of different customers that they service there. So I thought maybe it'd be kind of cool to maybe come up with something to run from the quarry down to Portsmouth, and also have like Cincinnati Eastern maybe stage some cars in the sidings up there toward Peebles and Winchester, Seaman area, so they could take, so PTS could take down to Portsmouth, down to the NS yard down there, instead of having to run all the way to Cincinnati. And you know, some of that stuff goes to Cincinnati, and then probably they bring it back east somewhere. You know, it goes out that way. So they're just back and forth, wasting time and stuff. So maybe it'd be simpler if they took what needed to go east, and or maybe go south on them lines, maybe on the East Coast or the Southeast there. They could just stage it in them yards, and then the PTS in Ohio could come over and take those cars and stuff and down to Portsmouth to the yard, and then they can go from there instead of having to go through Cincinnati. And also be maybe getting some rock out of the quarry there, Plum Run, and taking down towards Portsmouth and stuff. So it's just going to be a short line. I think it's like 40 miles, maybe a little more. But it goes through Rardon all the way, and all the way down to Portsmouth. Some good country down there, and the old Northwestern line. And I thought I've always wanted to start my own short line, and been thinking about it for a long, long time. Don't know what would have been, you know, thinking of a name and stuff. So I came up with this name. Thought it'd be a good one, based on a real line, but it's not really in operation right at the moment. But the tracks and everything's still there. And start my own line. Came up with my own paint scheme. So it's just the blue I use for V&O with a black front, black roof, black rear, and then white lettering, just plain white lettering with a white stripe. So this is PTS, is Portsmouth in Ohio, which also could be Pabst Train Show in Ohio. And the road number 1973, it's actually the year I was born, so we'll just go with that. So I may, when I do the lower deck on my layout, do that, just have it, you know, to run from east of Peebles down to Portsmouth area, maybe put some stuff in there, be like that. A lot of good scenery down that way, like hills and stuff. It's pretty nice. I wish somebody would really open that line back up. It'd be a really nice line. But in the future, probably add a couple more locomotives, not sure what. But this will be the first one. So it's pretty cool, I thought. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.